is to Socrates, or Callias, but what is so to such a one, or to such persons in general? For this is artificial. But particulars are infinite, and are not the objects of science. Nor does rhetoric speculate opinable particulars, such as what is the subject of opinion to Socrates or Hippias, but that which is the subject of opinion to such or such persons, in the same manner as dialectic. For dialectic also syllogizes, not from such things as are casual, since certain things appear to be credible, even to those who are delirious, but dialectic syllogizes from such things as require to be developed by a reasoning process, and rhetoric from such things as are accustomed to take place in consultation. The employment, however, of rhetoric consists in such particulars as are the subject of our consultation, and respecting which we have no art. And it is also conversant with such hearers as are incapable of perceiving a conclusion which is deduced through many media, or of syllogizing remotely, i.e. who are incapable of a long series of reasoning. But we consult about those things the subsistence of which appears to be possible in both ways, i.e. which may subsist otherwise than they do. For with respect to such things as cannot either in the past or future or present time have a different subsistence, no one consults about these, conceiving that they thus subsist. For it is not possible for any one to consult otherwise than thus, about things of this kind. But it is possible to syllogize and collect some things indeed from such particulars as have been previously syllogistically inferred, but others from things not inferred by syllogism, but which require syllogism, because they are not probable. And it is necessary indeed with respect to these, that the consecution of the one should not be easy, on account of its length. For the judge is supposed to be simple, and that the other should not be adapted to persuade, because it does not proceed from things acknowledged, nor from such as are probable. Hence it is necessary that enthymeme and example should be conversant with such things as for the most part admit of a various subsistence. And example, indeed, requires induction, but enthymeme syllogism. It is, likewise, necessary that enthymeme and example should consist from a few things, and frequently from fewer than those from which the first syllogism consists. For if any one of these is known, it is not necessary to say any thing farther, since the hearer himself will add this. Thus, for instance, for the purpose of concluding that Doricus was victorious in the contest in which the victors were crowned, it is sufficient to say that he conquered in the Olympic games. But there is no occasion to add that he was crowned because he conquered in the Olympic games, for this is known by all men. There are, however, a few necessary things from which rhetorical syllogisms consist. For many of the particulars which are the subjects of judgment and consideration may have a various subsistence, or subsist otherwise than they do, since men make their actions the subjects of their consultation and consideration. All actions, likewise, belong to the genus of things which are contingent. And no one of these, as I may say, is from necessity, but things which are for the most part accidental and contingent, must necessarily be syllogistically collected from other things which are of the like kind, and such as are necessary must be deduced by syllogism from necessary propositions. But this is evident to us from the Analytics. This then being the case, it is manifest, that with respect to those things from which enthymemes are deduced, some indeed are necessary, but most of them are such as have a frequency of subsistence. For enthymemes are deduced from the probabilities and signs, so that it is necessary each of these should be the same with each. For the probable is that which subsists for the most part, but not simply according to the definition of some persons. That, however, which is assumed respecting things which may have a various subsistence, has the same relation to that to which the probable is directed, as universal to particular. But with respect to signs, one indeed has such a subsistence as some one of particulars to that which is universal, but another as some one of universals to that which is particular. And of these signs, that indeed which is necessary is an argument, but that which is not necessary is anonymous according to difference. I call therefore those things necessary from which syllogism is produced. On which account also a sign of this is tecmerion, or an argument. For when rhetoricians fancy that what they say cannot be solved, then they think they have adduced an argument, as being something proved and definite. For tecmar and bound or limit are the same, according to the ancient tongue. With respect to signs, however, that indeed which subsists as particular to universal, is just as if some one should say it is a sign that wise are just men, for Socrates was wise and just. This therefore is a sign. But what has been asserted, though true, may be solved, for it is unsyllogistic. The following, however, as for instance, if some one should say, it is a sign that a certain person is diseased, for he has a fever, or that some female has been delivered because she has milk, are necessary signs, and which are the only signs that are tecmeria. For these alone, if true, cannot be solved. But that which subsists as universal to particular, is as if some one should say it is a sign that a certain person has a fever, for he breathes short and frequently. This, however, may be solved though it is true. For it is possible that one who has not a fever may labour under a difficulty of breathing. We have, therefore, now shown what the probable, a sign, and an argument are, and in what they differ from each other. These, however, are more clearly unfolded in the Analytics, where also it is shown from what cause some of them are unsyllogistic, but others are syllogistically deduced. And with respect to example, that it is indeed induction. And what the subjects are about which it is an induction, we have already shown. It is, however, neither as a part to the whole, nor as the whole to a part, nor as a whole to whole, but that which is as a part to a part, and as the similar to the similar, when both are under the same genus, but the one is more known than the other, is example. Thus, for instance, that Dionysius endeavoured to establish a tyrannical government when he required a guard, is an example. For Pisistratus, who prior to him attempted the same thing, demanded a guard, and having obtained it, tyrannized over the Athenians, and Theagenes over the Megarensians. All such others, likewise, as are known to have acted in this manner, become an example of Dionysius, with respect to whom it is not yet known whether he requires a guard with a view to a tyrannical government. All these, however, are under the same universal, viz. That he aspires after tyranny, who requires a guard. And thus we have shown what the particulars are from which the credibility that appears to be demonstrative is derived. CHAPTER 3. With respect to enthymemes, however, there is a great difference, of which nearly all the professors of rhetoric are particularly ignorant, and which is conversant with the dialectic method of syllogisms. For some enthymemes pertain to rhetoric, just as some syllogisms subsist according to the dialectic method. But others pertain to other arts and faculties, some of which are in existence, and others are not yet discovered. Hence they are not understood by those that hear them. And if rhetoricians employ them more than is fit, they relinquish their own art, and exchange it for some other. But what we have said will become more evident by a more copious discussion. For I say that dialectic and rhetorical syllogisms are those which are formed from propositions derived from certain places, and these are such as are conversant in common about things that are just and natural, and about political concerns, and many things which are specifically different, such for instance as the place respecting the more and the less. For we cannot in any greater degree syllogize from this place, or produce an enthymeme from it respecting what is just or natural, than respecting any thing else, though these things are specifically different.